Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we have another request because it is Friday and Fridays always do requests. Shout out to Chance for recommending this down in the comments below. If you guys have anything you want to see on Fridays, drop in the comments down below and I'll add it to a nice long sticky note that is getting very long, and soon I will watch it and review it on this channel. I had heard about this movie a long time ago. When it came out in like 2018, but I had not watched it, mainly because I don't really care for sports in general. I do like sports movies. This didn't really seem like a sports movie. It's not really a sports movie, but I didn't watch it, and I'm pretty glad I did. I did enjoy it, sort of. But today, regardless, I am excited to talk about Uncle Drew. Uncle Drew was released in 2018. It was written by Jay Longino and directed by Charles Stone III. So this movie's interesting, right? So if you don't know what it is, essentially it's this really old guy. He's like 75 years old, and he is Uncle Drew. And there's a kid. Well, he's not really a kid. He's like probably in his 30s, and he's putting together a team for this basketball tournament. I think it's called the Rucker. And essentially, what's going to happen here is Dax, the kid, is going to go to Uncle Drew and be like, hey, you want to start a team or whatever? And Uncle Drew's like, yeah. And so he goes around like the country almost, collecting the people of his old team, and then they go on, they play basketball, and then they win the tournament. That's the whole movie, basically. Which, really, there's like no really big events that happen. It's just them collecting the people, and then there's this really cool basketball game at the end of the movie. Which is definitely a negative, I think, in terms of, like, that was kind of dull in terms of, wow, that took forever. They're like, oh yeah, let's kind of scatter them across, like, you know, the East Coast. That way it takes time to get them. And they're like, I like where you're thinking. I'm like, why not they all just live in New York? It'd be like, then it'd be an hour and a half long. And it's only an hour and 45, but it felt like 2 hours. And it could have been an hour and 20. But regardless, I think it was a fun movie. Particularly, I like the basketball sequences in the end of the movie. Particularly, I think they were really cool. The makeup in this movie is insane. They make Kyrie Irving, who's a basketball player apparently. I know nothing about sports. That's just me. I don't know anything about sports. But they made him look really old and like pretty convincing too. I don't like that they played basketball. I think that's kind of dumb. No one that old is going to be out there on the court playing basketball like they were doing, like hanging from hoops and stuff. Didn't really care for that very much. I didn't care about a lot of the actual logistical aspects of the movie. Don't make any sense, right? They just don't. However, to a certain small extent, I'm able to look past that because it's a movie, right? That's like, we subject ourselves to that. When we go to see a movie, we're like, okay, some of this is not going to be real or not going to be at all like simulated to be real. And I can accept that. However, it was meant to feel like a real movie, so it feels like it was really annoying and kind of dumb in terms of watching that in general. The story is pretty cool. I did like the idea that, like, you know, you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. That I liked. I actually liked that whole meaning behind it. I liked the whole statement and how they actually said it. I like that a lot. I think it's true as well, to a certain extent, of course. I mean, literally, you will get old regardless. But I think that it was a cool, sentimental thing that they said there. And it's going to appeal to a lot of people that play, you know, games or anything like that. Like, for me, you know, I'm only going to get old if I stop watching movies. That's what I do a lot. I watch movies all the time. I like movies. I love Marvel. And I'm like, you know, if I ever stop doing that, I'm going to grow up. I don't want to grow up. Are you kidding me? At the time of this review, when this review comes out, I'm going to be freaking 20 years old. No, thank you. I turned 20 in a couple days, but it'll be like 2 weeks ago from when this comes out, actually. No, thank you. Pass. But I think it's really a fun little thing that they did there. I think it was interesting, and I haven't seen a movie yet. I'm sure there are movies, but I haven't seen one yet with that same exact like meaning behind it, which is nice. Again, I'm sure there are movies like that. I just haven't seen one myself yet. But I think it was a fun movie, and I think it was interesting and well done. I think that it was good enough to satisfy the masses. However, I don't think that a lot of it made sense, and I think that it was long, with long periods of just travel that I really didn't care about. Also, the old people are very stereotypically old. If you want to make them basketball players and like they're able to like move around with like such agility and stuff, I think they also should consider maybe not making them super like characteristically old. We're like, oh yeah, they only listen to like the blues and all that stuff. Like, it's like they don't have to be stereotypically old. They can be fresh and old at the same time, instead of being old. Because I think that get pun intended, I guess. But that gets old. You know, watching movies where everybody's old and you're like, oh wow, they're gonna like the blues and they're gonna drive this weird van, and it's like we don't really need more of those tropes. Thank you very much. Let's talk about some of the acting. I put acting in quotes because a lot of them are actually basketball players, which it doesn't mean they're not actors. It just means that, you know, you're going to see pictures of basketball players. But we have Kyrie Irving as Uncle Drew. I know nothing about Kyrie Irving in terms of basketball. I have no idea. Don't ask. I don't know. But I do know he was a really, really fun Uncle Drew. I think he was one of the best parts of this movie. I think he might be the best part of this movie. His acting is so cool because he's able to act old, but he's like 23 when this movie came out? Like, what? That's amazing. So props to that. But his movements were really interesting when he was old. I liked that. I don't think it was very cool he was playing basketball. It doesn't make any sense at all. I get it. It's a movie, but still, I didn't like it. I think the acting here, particularly on Irving's part, was really, really solid. Props to him because really, really, really fun. Really enjoyed watching that. And I kind of hope we get an Uncle Drew 2 at some point, just to follow the character. I don't really want one because I don't really want to have to watch it, but I do like Uncle Drew as a character in general, and I wouldn't hate another adventure on his part. I think maybe a short film would be better than an actual feature-length film. If we had like a direct-to-TV video, I'd like that. And just about Uncle Drew. Like, I don't want anything else. Also, what they could do, I guess, if they really wanted to, is they can go back and play, you know, young Uncle Drew and show us that game that they were talking about, because they had a game where they failed. Having that lead up might be cool. I mean, we already know the ending, so I guess it wouldn't be very good, but I don't know, maybe. We'll see. Lil Ray Howery as Dax. So Dax is a cool character. He is the guy that gets the team together, basically, because he wants the money, really is the reason why. And I think he's got the same elements of most flawed heroes, and he is a hero of the movie. He isn't a superhero by any means, but he is a hero of the film, because the hero is the person that's trying to do something. But a flawed hero, which is most heroes, basically his flaw is he's doing it for the money and not telling anyone about it, which is a very normal thing for a movie to do. And I think that he did a really good job. I think that the acting was perfect. I think that choosing him was really good. The character itself was kind of meh. It was very stereotyped, very like, oh, this is like very normal for a movie to portray a character like this in that way, you know? It's like, why can't he just be a normal guy? Why does he have to be a troubled, middle-aged man who can't find a relationship, who doesn't really have a home, and stumbles across his opportunity to make money, but he doesn't really know how to do the thing to make the money, so he has to find other people. It's a classic trope that I don't think we're ever going to get out of, but I really would like it if we did. Overall, I think that Howery was really good. Dax, not the best character in the world. I had fun watching him, but as somebody who watches movies all the time, it gets old. Shaquille O'Neal as Big Fella. So, Shaquille O'Neal, I don't really necessarily consider an actor, mainly because all of his roles are kind of like big, chunky basketball player, because in real life, he's a big, chunky basketball player. Again, I don't claim to know anything about his basketball career at all, because I don't. But I think that Shaquille O'Neal's fine. I mean, I never like watch him and like take him seriously in any film, which is a problem because I feel like he might actually be a pretty good dramatic actor. I've never seen him in anything like that. I don't know if he is in anything like that, but I think he might actually excel at that. He'll never do it, and I don't think it would work because it's Shaquille O'Neal. So I don't know exactly how that would work. But I think that Big Fella's a fun character. I wanted to mention it because everyone knows Shaquille O'Neal, and I think it was fun. I don't think he was, again, he was stereotyped, right? He's big and he's chunky, so he's going to be big and chunky in the court and like all that. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be that way. Like, I don't understand why we have to follow these tropes. And this movie just follows every trope. It's kind of annoying. I'm not going to buy every basketball player because it would just take forever, and I want you guys to have to watch the movie, the review here, and not have to take all of your day doing it. So I'm just going to move ahead and talk about Nick Kroll as Mookie. I love Nick Kroll. I do. Nick Kroll is one of my favorites in terms of comedians, and he's really funny in this too. I mean, he's electrifying. I think he might be one of the better performances of the movie, but however, still very stereotyped. Mookie's very stereotyped in terms of like he's a bad guy and he thinks he's gonna win, but that one thing he did of 20 years ago, oh no, he's gonna do it again, but he's gonna fail this time, and it's like we've seen this before. Thank you very much. But I think Nick Kroll was really, really good. Mookie, not so much. I don't think it's a very fun character, besides being comedic and really funny, but we see it in every movie, so it's, pun intended, starting to get kind of old. But overall, I think the movie is okay. I think that I enjoyed it more than a critic itself would, like an actual self-proclaimed critic. Well, not self-proclaimed, like professional critic. I'm a self-proclaimed one, I guess. I think it's very tropey, but it's fun, right? Like if I put this in front of a kid or a young basketball player and be like, hey, watch this, it's funny, they'd love it. And I liked it. I had a good time watching it. But in terms of it being an actual movie, it's a bad movie that I enjoyed. And so I'm going to give it a B-. That's going to do it for me today. That is Friday. I probably have a review coming out tomorrow and maybe Sunday. I really have no idea. And that really depends on what school tells me to do. But I think it's going to do it for me today. There's probably other reviews coming out today in terms of new releases. Make sure you guys go check those out. People have been watching them a lot as they come out, my new releases, so make sure you guys are checking those out because they're really big. Please consider subscribing if you're not because it helps me out a lot. And I'll keep it short. As always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.